realistic nymphs, aka young beautiful women from another species that will stay young and beautiful for decades, if not centuries. So in order to understand what I'm talking about, we need to explain the basics here, because I'm talking now about a world where many different species, like all kinds of elves, orcs, ogres, dragonkin, and of course millions of humans exist. And nymphs are just another species among others. And while nymphs are also described as physically weaker than normal humans, and while nymphs are also being often described as relatively few numbers, so for example one appearing in the city would be a minor novelty, they wouldn't pose much of a military threat, especially because their long lives would mean that they can't replace their battlefield losses very well, while us humans can, even in the midst of war, double our population in, let's say, 20 years. And yes, that really happened in Afghanistan during the anti-terror invasion of the United States. But war wouldn't be something that most nymphs wanted to choose. And while surely they could stay in their village and work the land, be just another small peasant in a society, or they could leverage their centuries-long beauty within human society. And let's just say that roughly 50% of the adult population would welcome them with open arms and open flies. And I know what you're thinking, that they would just work in the oldest profession that exists in the entire fantasy world. But I don't think so. During their centuries-long lifespan, they would learn to leverage every ounce of their looks to rise to the very top. Beauty, and not chaos, is a ladder to them. And I assume this because we humans, in our own world, easily ascribe beautiful people with better character. We praise them as less corrupt, more honest, and overall perceive them as simply being better people. And now imagine this advantage leveraged by centuries of time, and beauty that would just last as long. Sooner or later, nymphs would be elected as mayors, envoys. Maybe they would become concubines, but only to very powerful people, but always with the idea to amass more and more power. And once, let's say, one nymph had become the mayor of a small city, who would be as rude and as crude as to attack the mayor for making her second daughter the figurehead, the mascot, the inspiration, the icon for the local militia? After all, she wouldn't hold any real power. She would just be there to inspire the local men to fight and protect the women of the village from monsters and other dangers, and not to marry and thereby control the militia's leader. And to paint you a bigger picture, what could be a greater sign of respect than to send one of the rare nymphs to a friendly state as part of an envoy, and of course a nymph with royal heritage, whether it be real or not, would be a excellent bride for the young, charming, handsome, and short-lived prince of another state. Sooner or later, the nymphs would be able to infiltrate and manipulate their way to the top. They have centuries to do that, relying on their beauty to protect them and to open them doors. And once they arrive there, they maybe become benevolent dictators, unifying everyone behind their beauty, preventing wars, by stating that all nymphs would cry and die if men would fight amongst themselves. Or maybe they would do the exact opposite. They would wage war, or rather, they would have humans wage war against one another, in order to undermine hostile, or younger, and more beautiful nymphs of other nations. Men would fight against the enemies of their chosen clan of nymphs. Tales about a heroic warlord of the nymph, a solitary but noble knight, only known as the only fan, snatches victory from the jaws of defeat, and then gains the long-lasting love of thousands of nymphs in his entire country, dying happily under the sheer weight of numbers. At least that's what the soldiers will be told before they die for an old hag, in desperate fear that the people would see through her fading illusion spells on one fateful day. It would also make for a great video game. Imagine Warhammer Total War, but aside from Skaven fighting humans, or vampires, or elves, or other Skavens, dem skaven have ruined skavendom. The factions would be the Neckbeards, the Sims, the White Knights, and so on and so forth. And now for a bit more depth and complexity, maybe just a fraction of Nymphs want to infiltrate human society in order to rule over them. Maybe another faction of Nymphs values human companionship and find them absolutely disgusting that their fellow Nymphs would prey upon males as young as 20. A toddler by their own standards. So just as Nymphs could use their long lifespans, their beauty and their experience, you simply obtain if you're around for centuries for political gains, other Nymphs could use their beauty and their experience to rally the humans behind them in an anti-corruption push. And maybe, and this is also quite likely, the human woman will interfere and make the man take a cold shower. So in short, while Nymphs are often just a fantasy for a lonely night, and had been so for millennia, actual, centuries-lived, beautiful women would make quite an impact on human society, at least one that would tolerate them. But again, this has just been my opinion, so what is yours? Let me know down in the comment section. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Have a nice day.